On August the 10th, 2012, as the world's media looks on, the Metropolitan Police finally find the body of missing 12-year-old Tia Sharp in the loft of her grandmother's house in New Addington, South London. It's a crime that horrifies the nation. Police arrest the man that Tia calls Grandad, Stuart Hazel, and uncover a dark taboo. Hazel has been secretly fantasizing about abusing his step-granddaughter, and fueled by an obsession with violent child pornography, he commits the ultimate betrayal.
The man that Christine has introduced and brought into her family has murdered her 12-year-old granddaughter.
If we'd known what he was like, he would never have been there. I wouldn't have been with him.
Who's the evil of the evilest?
Britain's Darkest Taboos reveals the shocking true stories behind the most horrific acts of familial crime, including the death of Croydon schoolgirl Tia Sharp.
He degraded my little girl.
A crime that horrified a nation.
This is the little girl that was chopped up and put under floorboards. Even by Northern Ireland's cruel standards, this was a shocking murder.
And multiple murder.
3 generations of the same family being wiped out in one night.
Tia Sharp is born on the 30th of June 2000 in Croydon, South London, to teenage mum Natalie.
She was tiny. So holding her was like a Christmas present, you know, when you get what you actually asked him for, like Father Christmas, and you get it and you can't believe you've got her.
I was there when she was born. I saw Tia born. That was my first grandchild. That was untold love. That was it. Nothing was taking that away.
Grandmother Christine, mum Natalie and baby Tia have a special bond.
We weren't like a mother, daughter and granddaughter. We were stupid, but we were friends. Do you know, like we weren't just friends, we were more than friends. It is unique.
She was my granddaughter, but now and again she'd slip and she'd call me mum, and I wouldn't bat an eyelid.
Tia and her mum are inseparable.
Tia loved Natalie more than anything. Natalie loved Tia. They had a really brilliant, close bond.
Obviously it was a mother and daughter bond, but I wouldn't have said that it was a mother and daughter bond. I'd have said that she was more like my best friend.
As she grows up and begins secondary school, Tia is a confident and happy child.
Tia was always Tia, you had to meet her. She was the colour of all colours, she was the loudest in the room. You'd know she was there.
Psychologist Emma Kenny works with victims of familial crime, and she has been looking into Tia's upbringing and her character.
As Tia grew up, it became clear that she was quite a firecracker. She was somebody who had very strong opinions, she would air her feelings, and she wasn't afraid of letting people know that she was in the room.
She was confident in everything. She weren't shy, she went out, she made friends. If she went into a room where she didn't know nobody, you could guarantee she'd walk out and at least 4/4 of the room would, well, they'd be her friends.
Tia achieves good grades at school and is described by teachers as being a joy to have in class. But her attendance is an issue. In 2008, social services are involved with the family. Concerns are raised over Natalie and her partner's cannabis use. A report describes the family as dysfunctional. However, there is no evidence of neglect or abuse towards Tia. One member of the family in particular has a dark past. Stuart Hazel is the partner of Tia's grandmother, Christine. They met in 2002, and Tia calls Hazel Grandad. Forensic psychologist Dr. Kerry Nixon works with Cheshire Police and profiles domestic homicide offenders. She's been researching Hazel's profile.
With Hazel, there's lots of dysfunctional factors in his background, lots of risk factors. First of all, he had a difficult relationship with his parents. His mother was a prostitute, his dad was in prison, so therefore he went into care at a young age. When we look at his schooling, it's apparent that he's got a low IQ. He didn't do very well at school at all. He was truant from school. And this again is something that we see with violent offenders. In Hazel's case, he claims that he was raped at the age of 16. And when somebody has suffered trauma in childhood, psychological trauma, physical trauma, that can lead to them using violence as the first response to any challenge that they have.
Hazel's personality has an even more sinister element. Dr. Kerry Nixon believes an early exposure to sex is a common feature in the profiles of serious sexual offenders.
In this case, the mother being involved in sex work. Hazel, from a very young age, was at risk of becoming a serious violent and sexual offender.
Christine met Hazel in 2002 when she worked as a barmaid in a pub in Rains Park, southwest London. They became a couple in 2007 and he moved into her home in New Addington.
As far as Christine was concerned, Hazel was somebody who had various jobs. He was a window cleaner, for example. She knew that he had had issues with drugs and alcohol, but it wasn't very obvious. He seemed to be quite a nice guy, so he didn't display any obvious aggression traits, for example.
However, Hazel is still using drugs and drinking heavily, and his reckless behaviour leads to violence. In 2010, he is convicted of carrying a machete and is jailed for 12 months. But Christine stands by him and claims she never saw his violent side in the home.
He's like a gentle giant. Obviously, I know he had a criminal record. I know he drank. I know he smoked weed, but I didn't know the extent. But as I said to him, what he'd done in his past before we met, that was nothing to do with me.
The reality is that Hazel has lived a life of crime. He has 30 previous convictions and has been to prison 3 times.
We see drug offences, cocaine offences, dealing cocaine. We see criminal damage, we see burglary, we see theft. And we also see violence. There was racially motivated violence and GBH in his background. We also see chronic substance abuse. So we have drug abuse combined with alcohol abuse. And again, this is something that we see in the backgrounds of offenders. And it separates offenders who can stop themselves from getting involved in certain things and those who will act very impulsively.
And in Hazel's case, this impulsive behaviour is to have horrific consequences. Hazel is 10 years younger than Christine, but he becomes a trusted and much-loved member of their family.
I loved him, yeah. He was everything. Tia was my life. He was my world. Yeah, I loved him. He had everything I could possibly give. I had no more to give. He'd had everything. I felt secure with him. I felt safe with him. He gave me unconditional love.
He was good to her. He made her smile. He was good with the kids. He was good with the house. I don't know, at some point he was everything that she needed.
Tia has 2 younger brothers, and the 3 children adore their granddad and enjoy spending time with him.
You'd put him in a room full of kids and you had no worries, because he never hurt any of them.
All 3 of them doted on him then like he did on them.
We have to remember, Hazel came into Tia's life when she was 2 years of age. As far as she was concerned growing up, he was granddad. And that relationship developed as a grandfather-granddaughter relationship should. So this was an incredibly trusting relationship.
She idolised him. Do you know, I wish she didn't, and I wish part of her did hate him. But the fact was, she never did. She couldn't wait to be around him. She idolised him, and he did her.
Tia regularly stays overnight at her grandmother and Hazel's house in New Addington, even when Christine is working night shifts.
I was confident with her being there with him on her own. If I had any issues, it wouldn't have happened. But I had no issues. Natalie had no problems.
It was normal. There weren't no reason to think anything different.
11-year-old Tia is growing up into a young woman, but unbeknown to her or her family, Stuart Hazel is having sexual fantasies about her. Would impulsive Hazel be able to control his 6 sexual urges?
There's no doubt in my mind that Hazel became fascinated by Tia, convinced himself that Tia loved him.
He was looking at illegal underage incest pictures, daddy and daughter incest pictures.
He is getting off on the voyeurism, but at the same time, it's not going to be enough.
It's 2012 in New Addington, South London. An 11-year-old Tia Sharp enjoys spending quality time with her nan Christine and her partner Stuart Hazel.
We have to remember how important Hazel becomes in the family. So for Tia, he actually becomes a step-grandfather and she starts to relate to him as a grandfather. So that demonstrates the relationship between Hazel and Tia. She trusted him. She felt that he was an active part of their family. She felt safe with him. And undoubtedly, that reflected everybody else's view in the family.
However, Stuart Hazel is not who they think he is. Hazel is becoming infatuated with Tia.
As Tia got older, as she was developing into a young woman, his behaviour and his feelings changed towards Tia.
For him, Tia is growing into a young woman that, as far as he is concerned, is becoming somebody of sexual interest.
Hazel begins filming Tia in secret.
In the last year of Tia's life, Hazel's behaviour becomes really sinister. He becomes very voyeuristic with her. So she would come in from school and on one occasion was applying cream to her legs, as children do when you've got dry skin, and he's secretly filming her.
Hazel's secret filming becomes more extreme. He films Tia asleep in her bed. Nick Scholar was the senior investigating officer in the case.
Clearly Hazel had gone into her bedroom when she was asleep. He'd walked round filming her in bed, getting quite close to her and pulling back when she stirred. There was a particularly sinister image of Hazel's shadow on the wall, and he featured that momentarily as if he enjoyed that image.
That's part of his fantasy, fantasising what he could do to Tia, but also the power and control that he has over her. Power and control is really important when we look at this case.
He is getting off on the voyeurism, but at the same time, it's not going to be enough.
Hazel removes the door in the bathroom and tampers with the light fitting in Tia's bedroom. Police believe this was done to create a spy hole for Hazel.
Now, voyeurism is something that we see in violent sexual offenders. Once offenders go to the next level, they don't go back.
It's June 2012, and Tia is celebrating her birthday with her mum and grandmother. But she wants someone else there too. Hazel.
I mean, we went to Chesneham for her birthday. She chose who she wanted to go. I mean, obviously it was going to be me and Natalie, but then she had the choice of a friend. Well, her choice was Stuart.
There is a real tragedy in this relationship. Here we have a young girl who fully trusts her grandfather, loves her grandfather, enjoys spending quality time with him. The polarities of viewpoint from what Tia sees him as to what Hazel actually is are so at odds with each other that no one at this point could premeditate what was going to occur.
Hazel's sick fantasies are building and building, and they are fueled by his viewing of violent pornography online on his mobile phone.
He had been searching for paedophile internet sites. Some of his searches were naked little girlies, schoolgirl rape, incest sex, violent forced rape. There was a pattern of searches on there that clearly showed his interest in young girls.
Christine has no idea the man she loves is planning to abuse her granddaughter.
If we'd known what he was like, he would never have been there. I wouldn't have been with him.
He was looking at illegal underage incest pictures, daddy and daughter incest pictures, girls with glasses, little girls, and he would have been using that as part of his fantasies. Fantasies are really important in understanding what leads to murder.
It's August 2012, and Tia is planning to stay at her grandmother's for a few nights.
I didn't realise at the time Tia had sent a text message to Mum and Stuart's phone asking if she could stay there. I received a text message on the phone from Stuart saying that Tia could stay there if she wanted to. Mum weren't going to be there. Like, it was up to her with that. I remember shouting to Tia, I was on the toilet, I remember shouting, reading out the message, and she just jumped off the kitchen side with a yes, 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 went into the bedroom, done whatever she was doing, got changed or whatnot, and that was it.
On that particular day, Natalie kisses her daughter goodbye, feeling that she's sending her to a very safe environment with people who love her, having no idea that that would be the last time that she ever sees her again.
Natalie has no concerns for Tia's safety with Hazel.
As far as I was aware, she was safe. She was where she'd been before. You know, it weren't the first time, and it wasn't going to be the last. You know, like.
Knowing that she agreed to let Tia stay with Hazel that night is an everyday torment for Natalie.
I wished I hadn't have read the text message. I wished I hadn't have read it out to her. I wished I'd told her no, she wasn't staying there. I blame myself. If I hadn't have read the reply, she wouldn't have gone.
On Thursday, the 2nd of August, Hazel meets Tia off the tram. They are caught on CCTV shopping in New Addington. These are the last images of Tia alive.
What we can see from looking at the CCTV footage is a trusting relationship. It is very apparent that Tia is out with her grandfather. She's enjoying a day out. From this, you would not look at this and think that he is planning to sexually abuse Tia. But at this point, that's exactly what's happening.
Later that night, Christine calls home and speaks to Hazel.
I said to him, is everything okay? He said yes. So I said, have you had dinner? So he said yes. I said, well, what are you doing there? He said to me, I'm playing on the PS3. And in the background I heard Tia, no, Nanny, I'm playing on the PS3, but she was laughing.
For Tia, this is her grandfather. She has no understanding of what is playing out in his mind.
There's no doubt in my mind that Hazel became fascinated by Tia. I'm sure he convinced himself that Tia loved him.
Cognitive distortions that sexual offenders hold are so strong that they believe something that is abhorrent to the rest of society.
Fueled by alcohol and cannabis, impulsive and reckless, Hazel's distorted cognitions tip him over the edge. And he acts on his urges. 12-year-old Tia is never seen again. The next day, Friday, the 3rd of August, Christine returns home from work, and Hazel tells her Tia has gone to Croydon to buy some flip-flops. When Tia doesn't return home at 6 o'clock that night, Christine calls Natalie.
And my mum rang me and said that she hadn't come home, and had I seen her. And I hadn't, and that was it. Then my mum turned up. Then I had Tia's phone. I was messaging on the phone, messaging on Facebook. We drove around for a little while, and I just at 10 o'clock saying there was too much time. I shouldn't have waited that long, but again, I did because I was hoping, just hoping that the tram was late or she was with a friend. And it got to that point, and I just said to my mum, no, we need to go to the police station.
Hazel accompanies Natalie and Christine to the police station.
He seemed worried, seemed as frantic as I was, but didn't say much.
He reacted normal, but he knew where she was. He knew what he had done. Nothing slipped.
Hazel, Natalie and Christine all go to the police together. This is a united front. This is a family that, as far as they're concerned, would never harm that child. As far as everybody is concerned at this moment, he's the concerned grandfather.
Hazel tells police that he last saw Tia around midday, before she left for Croydon.
On top of this, we get a phone call that suggests by one of the neighbours that Tia has been seen leaving the property. That means that Hazel's story and recollection of events appears absolutely true.
The police launch a missing persons investigation, and Christine and Hazel's house is searched, but no body is found.
The house had been searched by a search team. A simple human error from an officer who was inexperienced and perhaps not properly trained for that role had led to the body not being found. Knowing that the house had been searched without any result, it clearly helps you shape your investigative strategy. You look for lines of inquiry that point away from the house.
I found it physically hard to believe that Tia had gone missing and not one person saw her. Do you know, like that? It's such an entwined estate. It was just like she walked out the door and fell down a hole.
The search for missing Tia becomes national news. Hazel leads the search for Tia, wearing a T-shirt with a photo on.
Often what we see with offenders who are very manipulative and show traits of antisocial personality is when the media descends because somebody is missing and they know that they've killed them, they actually seek the publicity. And they're getting something from that. At that point, he's thinking he's very clever.
The police search the house again with dogs, but no body is found. As Hazel was the last person to see her alive, he feels like he's a suspect and calls ITV News, asking to do an interview, hoping to clear his name.
Well, if they believe what they read in the papers, they can do whatever they like, because I know deep down in my heart that Tia walked out my house.
Dr. Kerry Nixon has been analysing this interview.
It's almost like he is saying, look, it did happen. Convincing himself, but also convincing people around him.
I loved her to bits. She's like my own daughter, for God's sake. We had that sort of relationship. It was that sort of thing. It was just, you know, she wanted it, she got it.
Christine comes back during that interview. She's already just walked through all the press who are no doubt firing 100 questions at her every moment. And she walks in distressed, and you actually see him comforting her, showing the world what a supportive man he is. And I bet my life on it that he is enjoying every single moment of his notoriety.
Christine has no reason to suspect the man she loves is responsible for her granddaughter's disappearance.
When I collapsed, he held me. He was there, constantly, everywhere I went.
But the truth is too much to bear.
It was fake. It was all a lie.
Unbeknown to the family, Tia's body is decomposing in the loft, just 12 feet above them.
Tia's body was taped up, almost cocooned in the black bedsheet with the black plastic.
Didn't connect. I asked who it was.
But he's worse than a monster. Who's the evil of the evilest?
It's August 2012, and as London celebrates hosting the Olympic Games, 12-year-old Tia Sharp is still missing. And mum Natalie is desperately hoping her beloved daughter comes home alive.
Nobody else was even in my focus. My two boys, they were safe where they was, and I knew they were safe. My focus was Tia. And it was to find her, and it was to make sure she was safe, and it was to bring her home.
What crossed through my mind was someone had taken her. I knew she hadn't run away.
But Christine is sharing a bed with her granddaughter's killer, Stuart Hazel.
He was there all the time with Natalie and Christine when they were crying, they were speculating about what might have happened to Tia. He knew, yet he had the ability to hide that from everyone that he supposedly loved.
I will sit back.
While Tia's family are desperate for any news, Hazel's mind is on other matters.
Whilst Tia's body is decomposing upstairs in the loft before the body's been discovered, Hazel goes online at that point to view indecent images and pornography. And this shows us that, one, his callousness, and two, the fact that he's still getting sexual gratification from what he's done. He'll be reliving what he's done.
Despite searching through 800 hours of CCTV footage and the 55 sightings reported by members of the public, the police are no closer to finding Tia's body. The only man who knows where she is continues his deceit. But time is running out for Hazel.
He would have been feeling the pressure at this point, though. He knows there's a body in the loft and it's going to be decomposing. He knows that there's media outside the house continually, so he's going to be thinking, how's he going to remove that body?
On the morning of Friday, the 10th of August, a week after Tia was reported missing, Hazel wakes up early and leaves the house.
Friday morning I got up and the smell was really intense. Once again I was looking and I just couldn't find it, and I was pulling everything out, but I just could not find the smell. And then when the police turned up, and that's when they just said to me, can we leave the house?
That afternoon, the police search the house for the fourth and final time. They make a gruesome discovery in the loft.
The body was taken away for a post-mortem, but had decomposed quite badly in the hot weather and was unidentifiable visually. We need to use dental records to confirm it was Tia's body.
The horrific realisation that Tia is dead and that her body had been in the house the whole time is impossible to comprehend.
And it was my son that said to me that they found a body. So I remember I looked at him and I said, well, who's that then? I don't know if I just blocked it out or if I was being plain stupid. It just didn't connect. I asked who it was.
I remember just hitting the floor, looking up, and everybody was looking down, and it was just their look in their face.
Christine's partner, the man Tia called Grandad, is the only suspect. But Hazel is on the run. He is caught on CCTV buying vodka in a shop in Canning Hill Lane, South London. Police are called and they arrest him at 8:25 that evening. Incensed members of the public shout insults as he's taken away in a police van. Christine and Natalie have been betrayed by the man they trusted.
I wanted to kill him. I prayed that one of them people got their hands on him before the police did. But no, even still to this day, no one seems to have got their hands on him. That makes me sick.
This is the ultimate betrayal. The man that Christine has introduced and brought into her family has murdered her 12-year-old granddaughter.
There's hatred, there's anger, there's fury. It's every horrible feeling and horrible thought that anybody holds for any monster.
Later that night, things get even worse for Christine when she is also arrested on suspicion of Tia's murder.
They arrested me that Friday night, 5 to 12. I was released on bail, I think it was about 6, 7 o'clock the Saturday evening. But I wasn't allowed nowhere near Natalie or my grandchildren. I was the one person that Natalie needed to be with, but they kept us apart.
I knew my mum and I knew she wouldn't have. And then Stuart, well, my mum would have been in prison. Stuart would have been dead.
If I had any inclination, he would be dead, she would be at home, I would be in prison, because I would have stuck a knife in him.
While her mum is being questioned over Tia's murder, Natalie has to watch on television as her daughter's body is removed from the house.
I remember watching her being wheeled out in the news. And her body bag. they wheeled her out. And it didn't even look like a body, do you know, it wasn't big enough for her. But it was.
For any parent, not being able to be the last person to hold your child, to whisper goodbye in your child's ear, to say all the things that you need to say that you know will never be said again are so important.
They shouldn't have removed her. Not with all them strangers and all them cameras and... I should have been with her.
Natalie is told she is not allowed to see her daughter's decomposed body.
I hate that decision that it was taken away. I hate it. I couldn't tell her how much I loved her. She's my baby, wasn't she? Why shouldn't I be allowed to touch her?
With Christine bailed, police turn their attention to their #1 suspect, Stuart Hazel.
What can you tell me about the murder of Tia Sharp, Stuart?
Well, a couple of minutes, you must listen, please.
He had to give a defence case statement, and his account evolved into one of where they had been playing together. Tia had fallen down the stairs, but seemed okay. So he thought nothing more of it. He had then passed out through drink, was his account, and when he'd woken up he found Tia dead on the floor. He said he felt so guilty that he hadn't done more for Tia the night before when she'd fallen over, and he couldn't face telling the grandmother that her only granddaughter was dead, that he hid her body in the loft. Tia's body was wrapped in a black bedsheet, and then black bin liners were wrapped around it and taped up, almost cocooned in the black bedsheet and the black plastic. Then once in the loft, he tucked her between the rafters and pushed her up tight against the roof, where the roof meets the loft, in a dark area of the loft, covering the body then with other debris from the loft.
Next to the body, in the loft, carefully wrapped in small plastic bags, inside a black bin bag, were Tia's clothes she was wearing that night, as well as her broken glasses.
For someone who wasn't intelligent, Hazel had done a remarkable job in hiding the evidence of his crime.
Incredibly, it took 4 searches of the property by the police to find Tia's body. In a statement, the police said they had apologised to Tia's family. They said all parts of the premises were searched, including the location where a body was discovered 5 days later. They put the blame on human error. During another search of the property, police recovered 2 memory cards. One of them had been particularly well hidden by Hazel in a door frame of a room downstairs.
The memory card was taken away for analysis. There was deleted and undeleted images on it. Some were still shots, some were video shots. The last shot on the memory card had been deleted, but we recovered it. And that was the incredibly disturbing image that we believe was taken of Tia in a sexually posed position after she was dead. This image depicted a naked female on all fours, with the photograph being taken from behind her.
I expect that he would have kept that as a trophy. He would have continued to get sexual pleasure from that. This was his way of prolonging the enjoyment.
It's about him remembering the moment that he killed her.
Police and prosecution believe that Tia was dead in the photo taken by Hazel.
We showed the posed image of Tia to a pathologist, and he was of the opinion that she was dead at the time it was taken. Hypostasis could be seen on the top of her thighs.
Police discover the videos of Tia sleeping on the memory card. Plus, it appears that Hazel liked to perform for the camera himself.
Other images and footage recovered did include Hazel himself posing naked on a bed in a similar position to that which Tia had been posed. And he was gyrating his bottom towards the camera. There were images that appeared to be of Hazel placing articles in his own bottom.
The horrific evidence against Hazel is mounting up. The police believe Hazel sexually assaulted Tia that night.
We also recovered a vibrator from elsewhere in the house, and as part of the investigation, we sent that for DNA screening. I was quite appalled when we got that result back that indicated Tia's DNA from blood was on that vibrator.
For Tia's family, Hazel's actions are impossible to comprehend.
That's not human. How? Not even animals act that way. He's what animals are better. I mean, somebody thingied him as Ian Huntley. I think he's worse than Ian Huntley. For the simple fact is he done it to his own.
Hate him. No, I absolutely hate him. I couldn't even describe it. I detest him. I want him to suffer. He's worse than a monster. He's the evil of the evilest.
Christine is cleared of having any involvement in her granddaughter's murder, but Stuart Hazel is pleading not guilty. And as a horrified nation looks on, the trial is set for May 2013 at the Old Bailey in London. Will Hazel finally reveal the truth about what happened that night?
He murdered Tia because that night he made sexual advances to her. Tia said that she was going to tell her mum, and he shut her up.
He degraded my little girl.
On the 7th of May 2013, the nation looks on as 37-year-old Stuart Hazel goes on trial for the horrific murder of 12-year-old Tia Sharp at the Old Bailey in London. Hazel is still protesting his innocence.
He may have pleaded not guilty for the sake of his family and loved ones. They tend to always believe what they are told, and whilst the rest of society may revile Stuart Hazel, the family can always hang on to that little hope that everyone else is wrong and what they're being told is right, and the person they love is in fact innocent and the subject of a miscarriage of justice.
Whilst awaiting trial, Hazel writes a letter to his dad. In it, he is sticking to his story, describing Tia's death as an accident. He also strongly refutes the police and prosecution's suggestion that the motive for murder is a sexual one.
Hazel is very keen, and we see it in letters to his dad from prison, to tell his dad that he's not a nonce. He doesn't want to admit to being a sex offender, and this is something that we see again and again in sex offenders. They will admit to the violent act, but they won't admit to the sexual act.
But Hazel shows no emotion in court.
It wasn't the person that I thought I'd known for 10 years. The nice person that wouldn't hurt anybody. That person standing in the dock was cold, horrible, black, dark, and stood there like he'd done nothing wrong. Didn't even look at me.
I kept staring at him. I was trying to will him to look up at me. I wanted him to look up and see me, but he didn't. He never once raised his head or even turned his face to my direction.
He had nothing about him. Nothing in his eyes, nothing in his ways, nothing. He was just empty.
The court is shown the images discovered by police on Hazel's memory card. In particular, the image taken of Tia the prosecution believe Hazel took after he murdered her.
They have to see those images and keep those images in their heads for the rest of their lives.
I think of that image is the last thing in my head every night before I go to sleep.
He's getting his kicks out of this. In fact, I'm sure that he enjoyed getting to see those pictures again. I'm sure that he enjoyed watching other people see what he'd seen.
Natalie leaves the court in tears when the photo is shown to the jury.
He degraded my little girl. None of them strangers needed to see. They didn't need to hear that. They hate him for that even more.
After subjecting her family to 4 days of harrowing evidence, Hazel changes his plea to guilty.
I don't believe this was to spare the family any suffering. He had already put them through all the medical and forensic evidence. I believe he changed his plea because he was a coward. It was the stage of the trial where he would have to go to the witness stand and give his account of what happened, and more importantly, be cross-examined. He never had the courage to stand up and face those questions.
When sentencing Hazel, the judge states that by first sexually assaulting and then killing Tia, Hazel had betrayed the trust placed in him by Christine and Natalie in the most grievous way possible.
Hazel received a 38-year minimum prison sentence, and that reflects just how truly dangerous a man he is.
Hazel refuses to tell the court or Tia's family exactly what happened that night or reveal why he killed Tia. But Dr. Kerry Nixon believes he killed her after trying to abuse her.
He murdered Tia because that night he made sexual advances to her. And because Tia was a feisty young girl, I think Tia responded angrily to his advances, said that she was going to tell her mum, and he shut her up.
The biggest con in this scenario is Hazel's relationship with Tia. After murdering a girl that he has brought up as his own granddaughter, after killing her, he totally dehumanises and humiliates the body, using it for his pleasure with absolutely no moral care, no emotional feelings towards somebody that from 2 years of age he has held as his own. That demonstrates just how dark, detached and sinister his personality is. This is a man who is capable of anything.
This horrific murder has had a huge impact on everyone involved in the case.
It's difficult to put the investigation of a crime like this behind you. To see such an innocent and happy young girl betrayed by a man that she thought of as a loving grandfather, it's just abhorrent.
For Natalie, her beloved daughter's last moments haunt her to this day.
Because to imagine her screaming and I can't get to her kills me. I hate him to rot in hell. I'm right where I am. I live in hell every day. Every breath I take is like a breath of hell. There ain't no release, there's no relent, there's nothing. It's just to get up and move on. Try to.
For Tia's family, the hole she has left behind is enormous.
I miss her loads. I miss everything with Tia. Oh, she was everything, she was my life.
She was what made me. And us was what made the rest of us. Every day I know she's there. I feel her, I hear her, I smell her. Yeah. A smile, the smell of her hair, the sound of her voice. As if she was here.
But Christine and Natalie are determined Hazel will not destroy their family.
Well, he hasn't broken us if that's what he's tried to do. We're tighter, we're closer than what we ever was.
He won't finish us. He started it, but he won't finish us. I'll never will he pull us apart. Never.
Whilst most families would have been totally destroyed by this situation, and Tia was a shining light that will never be forgotten, Natalie has 2 little boys and she lives for them. And with her mother's support, in spite of this being the most terrible thing that could have happened, eventually they will get through this.
And Natalie will never forget her beloved daughter.
I'm biased, I'm her mum. I'd always put her, but everybody said that they just remember her personality, the person she was. She was my best friend, she was my sidekick. She knew everything.